Hari Om. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Namaskara to all. This is your host Soumya and welcome everyone to the 5th edition of Global Festival of Oneness 2024. This is a month-long festival on Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada, covering various aspects and topics of Advaita Vedanta. Today's topic is Shastra Adhyayana as a spiritual practice by Dr. Gauri Mahulikar ji. Welcome, Gauri ji. Let me introduce the speaker to you. Professor Gauri ji is an academic director at Chinmaya International Foundation. She is the former Dean of Faculty and former Vice Chancellor of Chinmaya University, Kerala, India. A researcher in Vedic literature, a student of Vedanta, and a passionate lover of Sanskrit literature. Gauriji has participated in many national and international conferences. She has published 7 books and more than 80 articles in various journals and books. She retired as the head of Sanskrit department and Gurudev Tagore Chair for Comparative Literature of Mumbai University in 2015 and joined the Chinmaya University as Vice Chancellor. And after having served as a Dean of Faculty, she is currently the Academic Director at Chinmaya International Foundation and is associated with different institutes and NGOs in the capacity of advisor and management position. She was born in Karnataka, India, and can speak in 5 languages in addition to English. With that introduction, over to you, Gauriji.
Hari Om. Thank you so much, Soumya ji, and thank you, Indika, Moksha, Nitin ji, and Nagaraj and Hari ji for giving me this opportunity. I'm very grateful. And we are celebrating the oneness with Adi Shankara, the greatest of the stalwarts of Advaita Vedanta, and the most I would try to combine Shastra, Adhyayana and spirituality, which he has done all through his life. Only 32 years, but he did it. I will start with Dava Zog, in his Sartha Panchadashi. In Panchadashi, he has written a Marathi commentary and translation of Panchadashi. Dava Zog, Dattatreya Vaman Zog, Maharashtrian Vedanta scholar. So he has started Sartha Panchadashi with a verse. I would start with that today. Yash Shankara Sakala Shastra Rahasya Vakta. Yash Shankara Sakala Shastra Rahasya Vakta. Bauddhadi Buddhi Tamasam Khalu Chanda Bhanu. Abhyud Dadhara Vigalat Shruti Marga Madha. Bhu Mandale Vijayate Yati Sarva Bhaumaha. So what a nice way to pay gratitude and to tribute to Adi Shankaracharya. He is that Shankara who is a spokesman of all the hidden knowledge, rahasya of Sakala Shastra, not only Upanishads, Sakala Shastra. He Chandabhanuhu, he is like a sun shining with all his hundreds and thousands of rays, especially to remove the darkness, darkness of the mind or darkness of the intellect created by the Buddhas, the Jainas and all. Bauddhadi Buddhi Tamasam Khalu Chanda Bhanuhu. Shruti Margam Abhyuddadhara Adha. He really, verily, uplifted Abhi Uddadhara Vigalat Shruti Margam, which was decaying, deteriorating. That Shruti Marga, he really uplifted. So this Yati Sarvabhaumaha, he is like a sovereign amongst all the sannyasis, amongst all the Yatis. Vijayate Bhu Mandale. So very glowing tribute, by Pandit Dava Zog. So I like this verse very much. So now we'll start with Shastra Adhyayana as spiritual practice. So what is spirituality? What is spirituality? Why spirituality is needed? How we can imbibe it? What is Shastra? And how Shastras and spirituality could be related. So this will be the, in general, words we have to explain first. So what is spirituality? Normally, there are some 3-4 definitions, different definitions I can cull out from different people, different sources and different lectures which I have been listening to. Normally, we say that religion and philosophy, religion and spirituality are two sides of the same coin, right? And they are inseparable. So there are some people we come across, that they say, oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I'm not religious, but I'm philosophical, So that is not really true. These are the two sides of the same coin, we can say. But what are the common perceptions about that? So maybe we say that religion is something to do with the puja of the gods and all, whereas spirituality is experiencing that divinity, experiencing the godliness. It is not doing something to God, but taking something from the God and imbibing in ourselves. That is one perception. Second could be, you could abide, repose, and retire into your original nature of bliss. You become more introvert and experience that satisfaction and peace. So that is more or less, this is like swastha, swasmin tishtati, iti swastha. So be swastha. And when I say swastha, it reminds me of the Ayurvedic concept of swasthya, or Ayurvedic concept of what is Ayurveda. It is swasthasya swasthya rakshanam and aturasya vikara prashamanam. Okay. So swasthasya swasthya rakshanam. So what is swastha? Who is swastha? Swasmin tishtati asau swastha. Now, is it really just a physical, what you can say, physical health? You are away from your any illness, or this is mental, this is emotional, this is spiritual. So when everything is balanced, like the triguna balance, then a person can be called swastha. So this is more or less going near to the Ayurvedic connotation of swastha. Then third could be, what is spirituality? Being more virtuous and keeping away from vices, keeping away from sins, overcoming that, So, and imbibing good qualities and good virtues. If you compare the Daiva Asura Sampat Vibhaga of Bhagavad Gita, then Asuri Sampat you leave aside, Dambho, Moha, Karudha, etc. And you start Abhayam, Sattva, Samshuddhi and all that. So imbibing good virtues. So that is one of the perceptions. As this conference aims at, this is the oneness conference. So one more perception is seeing all as equals. So that will naturally bring oneness with others. So equality and oneness. So this is more on a spiritual level, more philosophical level. So that is one of the perception. These are all positive ones. Imbibing godliness, being swastha, then having more virtues, having equality and oneness. All these are positive concepts. Now, negatively, we can say that, realize, first understand, and then realize that the material world is futile. The futility of the multiplicity of the world, Vaitathya. So Vaitathya Prakarana in the Mandukya Karika of Gaudapada, Vaitathya Prakarana. So the more you realize that Vaitathya, you become, one with the inner self, because outer world you want to discard because it is vitatha, and then more concerned with the self, and then that is another perception. So these are the 4 or 5 perceptions, not definitions, I would say, the perceptions of what is being spiritual, what is spirituality. And when I talk about that Vaitathya, the negatively, understand that and then leave aside that. So when, we become more mundane, more empirical and desire prompted, then our greed knows no bounds then, because we are desire prompted all the while. And then if the desires don't get fulfilled, there is krodha. So moha is at the root. If moha, we want something and that doesn't get fulfilled, we are not satisfied, then there comes krodha, right? And then moha and krodha, these are the two things, like, and kama, because kama is the first desire, then the moha, and then the krodha. So tasmade tatrayam tyajet. So distance ourselves from all this and turn inside. Now, being spiritual, if a religious person we see, we can easily make out from his robes, from his tilak, whatever. Maybe he is holding a japamala, he is holding a kamandalu, he is carrying some flowers for the worship. So there is some outer, say, insignia, some symbols which a person carries, and therefore we can easily identify a religious person. But what are the insignia for the spiritual people? Even a cobbler can be spiritual. Like we have Ravidas, Santa Ravidas. So even he can be a spiritual person. Sauta Mali, Sauta in Maharashtra. He was a gardener. Kanda Mula Bhaji, Avagi Vithai Maji. He was more spiritual. Tukaram, a Baniya. He was spiritual. So what are the outer insignia for that? There are nothing. No tilak on the forehead, no mala in hands all the time, no saffron robe. So nothing like that. Then how to identify a person is spiritual? I feel there are 3 S's, 3 S, which can, make us or facilitate us to identify a spiritual person. One is Swadhyaya. That is what I am coming to slowly, Shastra Adhyayana, Swadhyaya. Then the other is sadhana, regular practice of something. It may be japa, it may be tapa, it may be something else. I don't know. There are so many sadhana. Time, doing your yoga at a particular time, something you do daily without fail at a particular time, that could be your sadhana, right? Because you aim at something, there is some sadhya, and the means to reach that aim, that goal, is sadhana. That ana is a lyut, karane pratyaya, karane lyut, right? Siddha. So that could be the sadhana. And the third is seva. Third could be seva. So swadhyaya, sadhana, and seva. Seva could be in the temple, even jhadu marna, cleaning the grounds, brooming, sweeping the grounds of the temple courtyard and all. That is seva. Service to elderly people, service to gurus is seva. Service without getting any salary in an institution is also seva. So seva is also varied types. But today, the focus of the talk is on Shastra Adhyayana. So I will deal only with Swadhyaya. Okay. So Swadhyaya is of Shastra. Swa Adhyayana. It is a self-study. Guru has taught you something, but Guru is just, a pointer, a deshika. Bhava Shankara deshika me sharanam. He won't explain every word and word to word meaning. He points you to a certain thing, and then you have to cross that path. The journey is, who would walk with you few steps. Then you have to journey that. You have to travel alone on that. So Swadhyaya is of Shastra. And what is Shastra? Again, some little bit of grammar like etymology. Shishyate anena iti vitpatya. Shas is the dhatu. Shas dhatoho. Shtran pratyaye. Shtran is the pratyaya. Shas is the dhatu. And Shastra, we get the word. Shastramiti shabdaha upapadyate, vyutpadyate, etc. So that is Shastra. And what is Adhyayana? Adhipurvakam ing dhatu. Ing is the root and adhi is the upasarga, and Adhyayanam. Again, ayanam. This is ana. This is lyut karane. Okay, karane lyut. So Adhyayanam iti padam utpadyate. Now Shastra provides a direction, some guidance, because Shastra tells you what you should do and what you should not do. So, pravrittirva nivrittirva, nityena kritakena va, pumsam yenopadishyeta tat shastramityavidhiyate. That is how the definition is given of Shastra. Pravritti and nivritti, what you should do, your do's, and what are the prohibitions, the don'ts. So that yena upadishyate, the thing, the text, the scripture which teaches you that is called Shastra. A simple thing is like tra, you take as a separate segment, because I am a student, would see like shas is the root and tra, that stran is the pratyaya, Panini would say. But tra as an affix, it's a suffix, like mitra, shastra, tantra, mantra, yantra. So tra is trayate. Trayate, kena, kasmat, that which protects by training you, by educating you, is Shastra. So it protects you. Okay, so that is Shastra. So Shastra protects you, Shastra purifies our mind, Shastra prepares us for meditation, Shastra prepares us to focus more intently, concentrate more, reflect more, contemplate more. So that itself, in itself, Adhyayana or Shastra, reading, is a spirituality, because spirituality gives you concentration. Spirituality teaches you concentration. So I feel Shastra itself, the word itself, because it trayate, it protects you from so many other things, and it protects you by educating you. So that is Shastra. Now this Svadhyaya, when we say Shastradhyayana, is a part of Svadhyaya. Taittiriya tells you Swadhyayan ma pramadaha. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. Okay. So Swadhyayan pravachanabhyam ma pramadaha. For a batu, for a brahmachari. But then he is graduating. So immediately the instruction comes, Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam. There are two things mentioned. Why both these things are needed? Swadhyaya is self-study, but pravachana, disseminating that study, that is also necessary. So both are needed to get more hold on the Shastra. When you are studying, this is true for me at least. When I was a student of MA Vedanta, I was a student in 70s. I didn't study much Vedanta. I didn't realize that Vedanta. When I started teaching the Vedanta, then only the Vedanta principles started dawning upon me, and that was like enlightenment for me, because I was reading that, I was learning by heart Kabir's Doha, Jalame Kumbha Kumbha me jale Bahar Bhitar Pani, Futa Kumbha Jala Jalagi Samana, Yah Tatha Kathau Gayani. When I was just 7 years old, somebody taught me this. I was like mugging it. I knew it. I studied Vedanta, but that time this didn't strike me. When I started teaching Vedanta, suddenly this, it dawned upon me, oh, this is the principle of Advaita Vedanta. I should be using it while studying Vedanta. This Jalame Kumbha Kumbha me Jalahe, etc., So when I started teaching, I realized that so pravachana is necessary. In fact, it is said arjanam, jnana arjanam, then sarjanam, you create content of your own, and then visarjanam, vividham sarjanam, or vishishtam sarjanam, that is through debates, through discourses, through talks, through lectures, you disseminate that knowledge. So these are very, very essential for what? For emphasizing and getting that knowledge which is gained imprinted in your mind. And therefore, Svadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. This dawns upon me. This really makes very sense to me when I teach Vedanta now. Okay. And for this teaching, for any Vyakhyana, again, Nirukta's commentator called Skandaswami, he has given, a Vyakhya, he has given a definition of what a Vyakhya should contain. An ideal commentary, an ideal discourse should have what all things. So when you do all that, that becomes a part and parcel of your daily routine of Shastra Adhyayana. And that is how it leads to spirituality. We'll see later. So these 6 things are Padacheda, the word split. Okay, first split the word. Then Padartha Ukti, Padasya Artha, Tasya Vachanam, Tasya Ukti. So word to word meaning. Now we say Pratipadartha, Padartha Ukti. Then Vigraha, the third thing is Vigraha. Vigraha could be of the Sandhis and also of the Samasas to understand it better. Vigraha. Then Vakya Yojana, the syntax. And syntax you should know. That means in simple language it is Anvaya, the prose order. Ascertaining the prose order, Vakya Yojana. Then if there are any Akshepa, the doubts and the criticism, and then Samadhana, that is the Siddhanta or the rejoinder. So the 7th century Skandaswami, commentator of Nirukta, gives you as these are the Shadvidham Vyakhyanam Smritam. Okay, so this is Shadvidham Vyakhyanam. With that, when you do the Pravachana, then the Shastra Adhyayana really helps you. How it helps? So there are again a few categories which I want to say. I mean, this is a very subjective approach because how Shastra Adhyayana leads to spirituality, everybody's experience would vary. So I don't claim that these and only these are the criteria or these are the benchmarks. But I feel the do is Shastra normally, Shastra Adhyayana, it cultivates our mind. It is like a cultural paradigm shift in our mind when we start reading Shastras, etc. Through reading the Vedic mantras, we get positive vibes. By listening to the Vedic mantras, we get positive vibes. I can't recite Vedic mantras in Swara, but when I listen to the Namaka and Chamaka or the other mantras, you feel so very positive. Okay? That is Shastra Adhyayana for somebody else, but listening to that also gives you certain positivity. Then it is not just, memorizing or kanthasthikarana of some shlokas or some mantras is not just a Shastra Adhyayana because as again Niruktakara Yaska would say, it is like sthanurayam bharaharaha. It is like carrying the burden of the words. It is just like a pillar. So you should know the meaning thereof. It sometimes, bridges. Shastra Adhyayana is bridging between learning something, memorizing something, and then practicing it, doing it as per the meaning thereof. So we can say that reading Shastra is a key to trigger you, to motivate you to understand the meaning thereof. And once you understand the meaning thereof, you start implementing it, and then it really becomes a practice. And that practice is spiritual. How? We'll come to that later. Now, it may also contain many of the Shastras, especially if we read the Smriti. I'll come to the 3 benchmarks or the foundations as stated in the Smritis, like Vedaha, Smritihi, and Sadachara. These are the 3 things. So how these 3 things help us, to aim at or to get into spirituality. So some of these, like especially the Puranas, the Charitras, the Vanshanucharitam Chaiva. Purana is Panchavidha Lakshana, Saragascha Pratisaragascha, Vansho Manvantarani cha, Vanshanucharitam Chaiva, Puranam Panchalakshanam. So the Anucharita, the biographies, the historical accounts of illustrious kings and illustrious sages, that also enlightens us. Okay, so that also helps us in many ways. Now, I have tried to say here, what Shastras can do to you. How 2, 3, 4 things maybe it is Shastras is a manual for spiritual journey. It is the Shastras itself is accumulated wisdom. Shastras written by so many sages or seen, apaurushaya vangmaya, like Veda, seen, or it's a revelation to the seers. So it's an accumulated wisdom, and that gives you the ethical trains, the upasana vidhis. It purifies your mind, and it also reminds you of your duties. That is number one. Then understanding the reality, because especially Vedanta Shastra, understanding the reality, because it is the authority of self-knowledge, Upanishadic knowledge. So understanding what is the reality, the ontological aspect of the world, worldview, then it may transform you totally, transformation through contemplation and self-realization. What you were before Shastra Adhyayana and what you are after Shastra Adhyayana, oneself can do the introspection and see and understand what the transformation is. And then it may lead him to the outer practices also, like some yoga, daily chanting, daily rituals, not the exact karma kanda, but simple puja vidhi, even the panchopachara, if not the shodashopachara puja vidhi, or just lighting the lamp and folding your hands, like, and meditate for a while. So these are the spiritual practice, what Shastras can lead you to. Ultimately, it is like, all these things, like accumulated wisdom you get, and it purifies your mind. Then it is an authority to understand the only reality. That is number two. Then transformation, your transformation, you yourself can witness it. And then like japa, tapa, meditation, dhyana, etc., etc. So in this way, it leads you to the holistic development, and it can develop compassion, which is the key to, to treat all other people as one. As I am, so are others. Shrunvantu vishve amritasya putraha. So to see that oneness amongst all, that is also Shastra can motivate you or lead you to do. In Mundakopanishad, there is an allegory. There is an allegory. You are studying Mundakopanishad, right? So, Dhanur Grihitva Aupanishadam Mahastram Sharam Hi Upasana Nishitam Sandhayita Ayamyatad Bhava Gatena Chetasa Laksham Tadevaksharam Saumya Vidhi. Tadeva Aksharam Laksham He Saumya Vidhi. O Saumya, you please understand. You please try to contemplate upon that. First try to understand that. Tadeva Aksharam Laksham. How you can understand that? There is a dhanu, there is a bow, there is an arrow, and there is a laksha. If you have a bow and arrow in your hand, you must aim that arrow towards a target. So, laksha has to be there. So, what is the dhanu first made up of? The bow, it is Aupanishadam dhanuhu. Aupanishadam dhanuhu, the knowledge and teaching that the Upanishad is the bow, is the dhanu. What is the arrow? Mahastram Shastram Upasana Nishitam Sandhayita. You have that arrow on your bow and stretch it, akarana. Okay? What is that? This is the mind which is sharpened by meditation and devotion. Upasana gives you devotion and meditation. Upasana Nishitam, it is sharpened. Nishitam. Upasana Nishitam Sharam Sandhayita, and that too Bhavagatena Chetasa, with all your bhava. Ayamyatad, ayamya, akarana, you stretch it to your karana. Ayamyatad Bhavagatena Chetasa, with your intellect, that meditative intellect. And then what is that? Aksharam, that is the laksha. That akshara tattva, that ultimate reality is, that is akshara, naksharati tat. So that imperishable Brahman, that ultimate reality is the target. So this is what Shastra teaches you. This is for understanding that ultimate reality. So one Shastra, if you take, how it leads you to so many things like imbibing virtues or seeking oneness, ethical grounds, all these things which I tried to say a few minutes back, all that could be had from the Shastra Adhyayana. So this was the Mundakopanishad, especially for the understanding of the reality, the ontological reality, that Aksharam Brahma, that imperishable Brahman. Now there are so many Smriti Granthas which talk about Shastra and why Shastra is to be regarded as a Pramana. Bhagavad Gita says in the 16th chapter, first, yes, Shastra Vidhimutsrujya, Vartate Kamakarataha, according to your free will, you just behave. And leaving aside, abandoning, forsaking the Shastra, not regarding the Shastra at all, nasa siddhi mavapnoti. It doesn't get any siddhi. Na sukham, na param gatim. No sukha, no empirical sukha in this world. Neither the empirical sukha, nor param gatim. Nasa siddhi mavapnoti. And the next verse, immediately the next verse in the 16th chapter, Tasmat Shastram Pramanamte. Tasmat, therefore, Shastram Pramanamte Karya Vyavasthito. So this was what the definition gives. Pravrittirva nivrittirva nityena kritakena va pusam yenopadishyeta tat shastramitya videyate. So Karya, Akarya, right? So what you should do and what you should not do, Akarya. So Nivritti from कार्य व्यवस्थितौ ज्ञात्वा शास्त्र विधान कर्म कर्तुम इह अर्हसि. So this is the Upadesha by Bhagavan to Arjuna. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. Kasmat Shastram Pramanante, because one who does not follow Shastra, one who disregards Shastra and behaves as per his own free will, he gets happiness neither here nor in the Paraloka. Nasa siddhim avapnoti, na sukham na paramgatim, tasmat shastram pramanante. And therefore this Shastra we have to study. Now in this Shastra Adhyayana, like Sadhana Panchaka, the very first verse, Acharya would say, Vedo Nityam Adhyayata. So what is the Shastra Adhyayana? How you should start? Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam. It is said that Brahmanena Akaranaeva Shadango Vedo Adhyetavya. Not only Veda, Shadango Veda, Panini would say, Patanjali would say, Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam, Shankaracharya says, but others would say, Brahmanena. Brahmanena is not the Varna Brahmana, but one who Brahma Janati Asau iti Brahmanaha, one who knows Brahma. Brahma is Veda, Brahma is Tapa, and Brahma is Brahman. All these three things are there. So, Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam, Taduditam Karmasvanushthiyatam, Tene Shasya Vidhiyatam, Abachiti Kamye Matistyajyatam. This is how Sadhana Panchaka starts. So, this is, there are so many in the Panchaka, 5 fours, I think 20 things are given, right? 20 things are given. In every charana, there is one work, task. This helps you in sadhana. So what is sadhana? First thing comes as Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam. So sadhana comes on the second level. First is Svadhyaya. So when I say 3 S's are required for spirituality, Svadhyaya, Sadhana, Seva. Svadhyaya tops the list. Here also Svadhyaya tops the list. So first study the Vedas daily and then do your duties diligently and all other things. Now when we talk about the 3 foundations I was just referring to, Vedaha, Smritihi and Sadacharaha. Trividhaha Smritaha. Veda Smritis Sadacharaha. Sahi Trividha Smritaha Sahi Dharmaha. So dharma, what are the foundations of dharma? These are the 3 sources of the dharma, Veda, Smriti and Sadachara. So this is spoken by Manu This is spoken by Vyasa in Manaparva also. This verse, the same verse occurs in Manaparva also. And the same verse occurs in Manusmriti also. So these are the three foundations of determining which guide us to determine what is the right and wrong. Now, right and wrong action, that is karma, that is also dharma. So dharma, in the many connotations of dharma, karma is one of the connotation. When you say athato dharma jidnyasa, they are not doing any jidnyasa of what is the religion, what is the karma. That is karma mimamsa. Dharma mimamsa, dharma jidnyasa is karma mimamsa. This is mimamsa shastra, right? So understanding scriptures helps us fulfill our dharma in this life. And for that, Veda, Smriti, and Sadachara, these are the three foundations spoken of. Now, when we talk about these three foundations, what are the things contained in Shruti or Veda? Vedaha is the first one. Smriti is the second. Sadachara is the third. So we can call it like Shruti or Vedic corpus as the first foundation. Okay. So this Shruti gives you the accumulated wisdom, as we were speaking in the initial thing. So wisdom of the ancient seers. This is the wider worldview. This is more of jnana. Vijnana comes at a later stage in the Upavedas. Vijnana is upayojita jnana, vishishtam jnana, it is applicative knowledge. Jnana is mere, like siddhantika, theoretical knowledge. So Vedas, in the Vedas also, the Samhitas especially, they give you the theoretical knowledge. Then comes the Brahmanical literature. Then comes the third Aranyaka, the third Vedic literature, that gives you the religio, spiritual or mystical. You know, sometimes it is religio-philosophical, religio-mystical knowledge. That is Aranyaka. Then comes Upanishad, the fourth factor, which is more spiritual, more philosophical, and it gives you like, the knowledge of oneness, because we believe in the Advaita Vedanta. This conference is of oneness conference. So Upanishads gives you that spiritual oneness, the knowledge of oneness. So this is the Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. That is one part of the Shruti. The other part is Vedanga. When I say Shadango Vedaha Adhyayatavya. So the Shadangas, like Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotisha, these six, these are the Vedangas. Vedarthaha, Angyate, Gamyate, Anena iti Vedangam. These are the technical literature, technical corpus, which help one understand the meaning of the Vedas. Okay. In what way this is not an IKS class, so I don't tell you what is the Vedanga's purpose, but then like we started with the etymological meaning, like the grammatical meaning, this is the dhatu, this is the pratyaya, then the etymology. So everything helps you to understand and go deeper into that. And then comes the Upavedas of all the four Vedas, the four Upavedas or the five Upavedas. Like the Dhanurveda, Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Arthaveda. So these are the applicative literature. Okay. So all these are the Shastras which are contained in the Shruti part. So when we talk about Shastra Adhyayana or understanding Dharma, and one of the foundation is Veda, it includes all this corpus. So any of these Shastras, you dedicate yourself to read every day. Reading every day at a particular time, before lunch, before going to sleep, becomes your sadhana. But reading it daily, and making it a habit becomes your spiritual practice. So that is how this Shastra Adhyayana, first part, Shruti. Then comes the Smriti part, and the Smriti part is basically the Itihasas, the Puranas, the Dharma Shastra literature, This gives you the do's and the don'ts, how you should behave, how you should not behave. This is more of an axiological literature, that is ethical literature, or teaches you morality. So one thing I said in the beginning, that imbibing more virtues and keeping us away from the vices and sins, how we can do that? Because that is a spiritual practice. What is spiritual practice? One of the perceptions was this, right? So this would help us more in Rama Adivat Vartitavyam Natu Ravana Adivat. That is what Ramayana teaches. So all these, Dharmaraja Adivat Vartitavyam Natu Dushasana Adivat or Duryodhana Adivat, you can go on extending that. But this is more of moral corpus, and therefore this gives you the do's and don'ts of behavior. And then the third aspect is Shruti, Smriti and Sadachara. So Sadachara is the behavior, Sat Achara, Sata Acharitaha, Acharitam Charitram. So this is more of biographies of the Mahatmas or the saints and their works also, and how they inspire us, they motivate us. So whatever we saw in the initial thing, that what are the things, what are the perceptions of this, that one is religiosity, puja, and godliness we have to imbibe. So religiosity is the Brahmanical literature, and if you have to experience the godliness, then you have to turn to the more philosophical literature. So that is number one. Being swastha, that was another thing, right? Being swastha, repose and retire into your own blissful nature, and that takes you to the applicative literature, more of the Vedanga literature, how to remain swastha. And I concept of swastha, swasmin tishtati asau. Then imbibing more virtues and keeping us away from the vices and the sins, that will take you to the ethical part of the Shastra Adhyayana, that is to the Smritis, the Itihasas and the Puranas. Then spirituality, treating all as equals and trying to seek oneness with all, that is more in the Upanishad. Right from the Vedas it starts, like Shrunvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha, then Yatra Vishwam Bhavati Ekanidam, then Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. All these things, we are all one. And then the suktas like Sanchadvam, Sambadadvam, how they treat you and how they lead you to that oneness and equality. And then the last one was the negative one, which I said, that realizing the Vaitatya of this mundane world, the empirical world, and that comes through various sources. Vaitatya could be gathered from any Shastra, especially from the Upanishad, because Upanishads aim at the spiritual text, more philosophical literature, and therefore the Vaitatya of all these, because this is Nashvara, Nashva. It won't remain the same even tomorrow, right? Nashvaha. And Ra is a Matvarthiya Pratyaya, like Madhura, Ruchira, right? So Nashvara. So this is etymology. So this everything else is Nashvara, and there is only one Avinashi Tattva, and therefore you have to follow that Avinashi Tattva. So Vaitatya comes from various fields, from the epics also, from the Puranas also. Negatively, this is, this gives us like signals that you should not behave like this, because this is not going to be eternal. This is not going to be perpetual. And therefore one turns to the perpetuality or eternality, and that is the Upanishadic philosophy. And therefore, to have these observations, like how the Shastra then leads us to these spiritual practices. One can be a grihastha, like I quoted the examples of Sautamadi or Ravidas, Namdev Shimpi, he was a tailor, Jnaneshwara was a Brahmana, Then there was this one, who Santa Bahinabai was there, Muktabai was there, Janabai, she was a Sevika, Dasi in the house of Santa Namdev. So all these coming from different walks of life, but none of them, is less in spirituality than the other. So I was just saying that, whosoever the person may be, he can be a grihastha and engaged in all the mundane activities, his daily core, daily duties, and yet be spiritual if he's adhering to dharma. Ultimately, I'm coming closer to observance of dharma, how it leads to spirituality. Shastra-Adhyayana teaches you the dharma, because understanding the dharma, there are 3 criteria, right? One is the Veda, one is in Shastra, Veda, Smriti and Sadachara. So ultimately it is dharma, acharana, which makes one spiritual. That is my hypothesis. Dharmacharana makes one spiritual, and dharmacharana one can learn by Shastra-Adhyayana or by Sadachara. The sense also can give you that. So that is another story, because I am focusing on Shastra-Adhyayana today, and therefore I am not focusing much on those who don't need read Shastras and just follow the great people. They are also spiritual, but the topic today is Shastra-Adhyayana. So I am focusing more on Dharmacharana through Shastra-Adhyayana, how Shastras teach you how to behave and how not to behave. So a person may be whosoever, a Brahma, or a Vanaprasthi, or a Yati, he may be any belonging to any ashrama, he may be belonging to any varna, he may be of any gender, he or she may be of any age, any avastha. Nothing is a barrier for spiritual practice, provided one does dharmacharana following the Shastra-Adhyayana. So this is the main hypothesis. So be it a Purushartha Prapti, be it karma, adhering to karma, knowing the karma, knowing the theory of karma, or knowing Brahman through spirituality, through Upanishads, etc. Following one's own dharma makes one spiritual. So ultimately it is, I can draw conclusion to the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, on which how this first verse changed the life of so many people. Changed the life of so many people in what way? There is a story which I heard when I was too young from one sadhu, one Mahatma only, and he was a great Pandit, well versed in Bhagavad Gita. He had practiced in Tapa in Himalayas and studied Bhagavad Gita his entire life. And then he came down and he started, came down from the Himalayas and started preaching Bhagavad Gita village to village. Once in a small village he came, and there was so much of crowd to listen to him. By now he had become a VIP, and he came very late to the venue, and the Sabhagara was filled with people, Bal, Bache, Budhe, Sab. And then he came, and after initial introduction and all that preliminaries, he started Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, and a woman got up, folded her hands and started going to the exit door. He was upset, he got humiliated, and then he stopped her. Oh Maya, oh Amma, please stop. Why did you come here? To listen to you. Why did you want to listen to me? I heard that Bhagavad Gita had the lesson for everybody in his life, so I came to get my lesson. But I haven't started. I haven't even finished the first verse. And hereafter I'll start my exposition. And then she said, no, but I got my lesson of my life. How is it? He's scratching his head. Oh, I learned Bhagavad Gita all my life and I didn't find anything in these 2 words, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. How this half-literate woman, she got some message from that. And he stopped her and requested her, please, Amma, can you share what is the message you got? And she said, I know little Sanskrit. I'll just reshuffle the words. Dharma, kshetre, kuru, kshetre, 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 dharma, kuru. In whichever field you are, you do dharma. And now I am a housewife. I am a snusha. I am a mother. My old parents-in-law are waiting for bhojana. This is too late. I have to go. The story may be coined. The story may have been fabricated. I don't know. I heard it from a Mahatma and a sadhu only, a yati only. Maybe he fabricated it, but the story is so enlightening. I have told this story on so many platforms. So, kshetre kshetre dharma kuru, grammatically it is incorrect sentence. Kshetre kshetre dharmam kuru, it should be. But for that half literate woman, it was okay. Kshetre kshetre dharma kuru. And she says, my kshetra is my home, my people. And I have to do my dharma there. And so let me go back. And then he, lay prostrate at her feet and he said, today I really learned what Gita is. Swadharma. We have been teaching Swadharme Nidhanam Shreya, Paradharmo Bhayavaha. But what is my own dharma? How can I imbibe that dharma? How can I gain my dharma? If that we learn, then everything is as good as learned. Then going ahead, I thought the first word of Bhagavad Gita is dharma, and the last word of Bhagavad Gita, the last verse, 78th verse in 18th chapter, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutihi, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So the last word is Mama, Dharma, Mama Dharmaha, my Dharma, Swadharma. In one word, if we want to say the whole gist of this Bhagavad Gita, 700 or 701 shlokas, is Swadharma. Now, this leads you to Dharma Acharana. That Dharma Acharana makes you more spiritual because you are not intervening in anybody else's Dharma. That is Paradharma. If I am a chhatra, if I am a student, let me do my dharma genuinely, honestly. Let me give my 100% if I'm a teacher and not just blah, blah, blah in the class, wait for the 40 minutes to get over and then go back. If the students interfere, I won't answer their questions because I'm a teacher and I can shut their mouths. Keep quiet. You have to listen to me. If that is the case and I'm not doing justice to my dharma, then I have lost my spirituality. So doing one's own dharma in genuine manner with full 100, 200, 300% of it is spiritual practice. And that I can learn from Shastra. Here from Bhagavad Gita. So every Shastra teaches you how to behave, how to do your dharma. And the baseline of my talk today is Dharma Acharana through Swadhyaya or through Shastra Adhyayana, which makes you spiritual. So I think it's almost over. So I'll stop here. And these are, of course, my views. This is a very subjective talk. And Nitin wanted me to talk on this topic. Otherwise, I would have chosen some Adhikarana from Brahma Sutra and done a comparative study like I did for Ikshatya Adhikarana and Anandamaya Adhikarana for last two conferences. But good, he told me to do something more interesting perhaps for the younger generation, and that's why I'm speaking in the evening session today. Normally I speak in the morning session 7 to 8 morning. So this is the first time I'm speaking in the evening session. And thank you, Nitin, and thank you, Indika, for giving me this opportunity. Hari Om.
Thank you, Gauriji, for that motivating talk by addressing the questions of what, why, and how of spirituality and emphasizing the Shastra Adhyayana, which cultivates the mind by regularly listening to it and therefore transforms the mind, and which in turn helps to understand the reality. All this by following Adhyayana. Thank you so much for the talk.
How beautifully you combined everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, viewers, for your participation. Please join us for tomorrow's morning session from 7 to 8. Can we have the flyer? The topic for tomorrow's morning session is Vedantic Approach to Life and Consciousness by Dr. Pushkar Pujari. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om Shubharatri.